to see if you qualify. That's 800-574-8803.
All right, 7:12 here on the Triangle's Morning News. We got some in-studio guests, and we always love it when we have people in studio. Scott Shook, who promised coffee and donuts, did not deliver on that this morning, but it's great to see you, sir. You look great. I've not seen you in a suit quite this nice in quite a while.
Yeah, this is the work outfit. This is what I normally wear. That's right.
Scott is the chair of the State Board of the Community College System in North Carolina. We'll get to him much, much later in the interview because we have Dr. Jimmy Williamson with us here, who is the president of the Community College System, and we look forward to having him right now in the studio. It's great to see you. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Glad to get you move the mic a little closer to you.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, first 6 weeks or so on the ground, kind of hit the ground running. What have you been up to over this kind of initial period since you started in early July?
Well, it's been overwhelming, absolutely. 100 counties.
Good overwhelming.
Good overwhelming.
Yeah,
good overwhelming. 100 counties in North Carolina. I'm coming, of course, from South Carolina. 46 counties, 16 colleges in South Carolina, 58 in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. So I have been on the road. You know, it's all about trying to have those relationships and forming those relationships that will carry us and sustain us. And so I'm working hard to meet as many people as I possibly can in the shortest amount of time.
Scott Shook, as we mentioned with us here, I remember when Dr. Williamson was first hired, and you were telling me a little bit about him, but what made him the right sort of candidate, in the board's opinion, or the right man for the job, so to speak?
Sure. Well, that's a great question. First of all, his experience past in a community college. He's been a president of a community college in South Carolina. He retired from that, went into private industry, and that was a big focus for us as the board, is have somebody with private industry experience as well, worked there, and then also ran the system in South Carolina and had done a tremendous job in doing that, and as well his role in economic development in South Carolina. And obviously that's a role that the North Carolina community colleges play, and we wanted somebody with proven experience with that.
You have an extensive business background, so you understand the importance of economic development, especially in some of these communities that different community colleges are in. Here in Wake County, obviously Wake Tech is building different campuses, so that's an interesting model as well. But as far as maybe some of the more rural, outlying type of counties, the economic development side of things is quite important.
Absolutely. You know, as far as the part of the world that we come from, East I-95, as it were, and I'm originally from Raleigh, but now live in Greenville. You come from Kinston. You know as well as I do that the community college is the center of activity in a lot of these counties. And from an economic development standpoint, workforce development standpoint, if community colleges weren't in Lenoir County, they wouldn't have Spirit Air Systems there. So they're an economic engine that drives the state and are actually absolutely critical to economic development, you know, as well as here, but also around the state as well. So,
Dr. Williamson, Scott does bring up a great point. By the way, here this morning we've got Dr. Jimmy Williamson with president of the State Community College System and the chair of the board, Scott Shook, with us here in studio. Somewhere like Lenoir Community College in Kinston, you have the business enterprise there that gets, I guess, supported in a sense. So that's the other part of it, too. That leads to specialized curriculum at some of these community colleges based on whatever the economic model is or wants to be in respective counties.
Right. Absolutely. All the curriculum is really driven by the local economy, and it's sort of a, you know, what comes first, the chicken or the egg. You certainly have to have the qualified workforce ready to handle the business as they look to your area to expand. We have a unique program in North Carolina called customized training. And if a company is coming in, making an initial capital investment, they're going to create jobs. We're going to provide that training for them as part of the package to attract them to North Carolina. And then the community college takes it from there.
I think that does bring up an interesting point, because a lot of the what we've heard from Governor McCrory, General Assembly, is more vocational type of training.
Right.
There is a balance with that vocational training and then having people be able to take the courses necessary to transfer on to a 4-year institution and earn that degree. So
Sure.
that is a balance, and can you maybe speak a little bit to that?
Sure. Well, you know, one of the things that we've worked hard on in North Carolina and really has been a national movement is this whole concept of career pathways, that you could start in high school, for example, and take career and technical education courses in high school, maybe get a certificate, maybe go into the world of work and defer your post-secondary training, or you could go directly into post-secondary education, get an associate degree or certificate or diploma, and then work for a while, or you could go straight on into the baccalaureate and so that you've got this pathway. If you think of it as sort of a career highway, so you can ramp off and do something for a while and then come back on and so that's really, we are part of that system, part of that continuum, and proud to be the career and technical education provider at the post-secondary level, but also proud to offer those college transfer courses so that it makes a four-year degree, if that's what the student is interested in, affordable and accessible.
Dr. Jimmy Williamson with us here. Scott Shook with us as well, both with the North Carolina Community College system. Dr. Williamson, the president. Scott Shook is his driver. No, Scott Shook is I'm disrespecting Scott. He's the chair of the board and a very, very accomplished
and a great chair.
No, he's not really done a great job.
Yeah.
And I was pleased to see when Scott was named as the chair of the board, but he's really kind of taken the ball and run with it, which is a very cool thing. We got some more questions for these guys. We'll ask them in a couple of minutes here. First, Brian LeBlanc at 7:18, and a look at the roads with PTF traffic. LeBlanc.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Patrick. From the Johnson.
Income approval, not a commitment to lend. Restrictions may apply. Perennial Mortgage Group and Equal Housing Lender. Sponsored by NTFN Inc. NMLS number 75333.
All right, 7:21 here on the Triangle's Morning News. We've got Dr. Jimmy Williamson, who's the president of the North Carolina Community College System, and Scott Shook, who is the chair of the board of the Community College System, in the studio with us here. Our first visit with Dr. Williamson, a native of South Carolina, but he's becoming a Tar Heel State guy now. Absolutely. Not a Tar Heel. We can't. Scott and I can't have that, but we can have a Tar Heel State guy with us here. We were talking a little bit about the vocational training versus the transfer to a four-year institution, and we were speaking in the break. My nephew just starting App State here this week,
right,
and he took the early college in Beaufort County, which got him out in 5 years with a high school diploma and an associate's degree. So essentially, he goes to Appalachian State and has 2 years. I think I believe they still have something like that in Lenoir County, don't they? Or if they did, but they do have one, I guess. Scott's nodding yes, so that affirms what I suspected. In these rural counties, this has been very successful.
Absolutely.
How does that program fit into? I mean, obviously, it sounds like you want to continue it based on our off-air conversation.
Oh, absolutely. It is.
And what are
truly
the challenges with it, I guess?
Well, it first of all, it is an incredible program, and it gives opportunity to people who might not even think about post-secondary education. Now, your nephew might have been an exception. He might have always dreamed that he would go to college, and this was just the way to get there. Mm-hmm. Some people might not even think that that's in the future, but if it's provided free of charge while they're in high school, it's right there. Why not take advantage of it? And so, one of the things that we struggle with is not producing the qualified graduates that business and industry needs, but producing more of them. And so anything that we can do to increase that pipeline is good. Some of the challenges might be...
Is it a funding challenge?
Not so much,
Okay.
I don't think.
All
Right. From a personal perspective, and I speak from the perspective of one of my friends has a daughter who did that, and so she goes off to the university as a junior, and it's her first opportunity to live away from home. But she's in 300 and 400 level courses where she really, really needs to study, but she's living in the dorm, for the first time. Yeah. And so some of that adjustment is sort of natural. But, I think that most of those students really are able to deal with that. They go in, think of the advantage that they have over other people who are just transferring in. I mean, they have an associate degree. That's pretty amazing.
And a lot closer to graduate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even being able to pursue maybe a postgraduate degree a little easier.
Right,
too.
And no debt. I mean,
Yeah.
they're coming
Yeah,
in.
true.
They're coming in as a junior with no debt from the freshman and sophomore level.
Scott Shook is with us here. A couple more things. I do want to talk about funding very quickly, though, Scott. And this may be more of a board thing, but when you see the growth here of Wake Tech. Is that, how much of that are you guys in concert with, or do you kind of let Wake Tech and these other institutions work those deals out? Where does that sort of
Sure. Well, all the institutions are
come
run
in?
by their local boards of trustees. They earn funding through FTE, which is full-time equivalent. And what many of your listeners may not know, and I didn't know till I was on the board, the two largest colleges in the state of North Carolina is Wake Tech, number one, and Central Piedmont, number two. There's 70,000 people that go through the doors of Wake Tech a year. I mean, you think about the enterprise, 9 campuses. Like they just had a groundbreaking here to start on the next phase. I mean, it's a tremendous college here, and Dr. Steve Scott does a fabulous job, and so do the board trustees in running that. So we help steer statewide policy and implement policy from the General Assembly and dollars, and local institutions pick presidents and run their colleges as well.
Dr. Russo, anything from that Wake Tech model or these bigger campus models that can be sort of trickled down to maybe some of the more rural, or is it just apples and oranges in that?
No, we are truly a system. And so if a college needs some specialized help from one of their sister institutions, we make sure that happens. I mean, there's cooperation and collaboration, certainly regionally, but if there's a program that we truly function as the North Carolina Community College System. There are 58 colleges, and they're autonomous. But if one of their neighboring institutions needs some technical expertise or some help with curriculum development, we coordinate a lot of that at the system level and trying to match up where the areas of knowledge and expertise are and how you capitalize on that.
Funding is
yes.
always...
It's an issue.
I shouldn't have saved this for we should have just started the whole thing with funding. But real quick, though, I mean, that obviously is always, because you've got to pay good people to get them in the institutions to work and teach.
Sure.
Can you talk about those challenges?
Absolutely. We're a great investment for the taxpayers of North Carolina. For every dollar that's invested in the North Carolina Community College System is a $4.10 return. That's a pretty incredible return on investment. We have some challenges because we are competing for dollars with all other post-secondary education and K-12. We have a true value proposition. We put people to work. We are the reason that economic development, part of the reason that economic development happens in North Carolina. We are part of that engine that drives the investment in our communities. And so we think that we're a good bang for the buck, and it's always a challenge to make sure that we get the appropriate resources, not that we want, but that we need to complete our mission.
So it's messaging.
It is messaging. Yeah. Absolutely. And something that we've talked about in the first 6 weeks is how do we begin to message that? How do we brand this? How do we brand this so that parents understand that these careers are high-paying, high-skilled careers, and that's a wonderful alternative to a 4-year education? How do we then brand this so that we have a value proposition to the decision makers, to the people who are controlling the budget?
It's great to have you in. It really was. Enjoyed talking to you. And next time, don't bring Shook, and we'll he won't take all.
I'll
the time
stay for the full
answers.
hour, right?
Stay for the full hour. Shook, we can only take in small doses.
Well, I'll see you in Greenville.
I'll see you in a couple weeks in Greenville.
Thanks
Good to
for
see you,
having
though,
me
too,
on.
Scott. It's great to have Scott in here. Board of the chair for the community college system, the president, Dr. Jimmy Williamson. Really great to have you in.
Thank you.
Let's go to Brian LeBlanc now with traffic here on the Triangles Morning News.
Yes, indeed, from the